Hello, encouragers. I'm Rebecca Scott, wife, mother of 4, author, and owner and designer of Rebecca Scott Designs. I'm here to encourage you, to make you feel the I can do this spirit each and every day of our awesome journeys to fulfill those many important roles. I believe we are fully equipped to execute, and I will provide you with as much knowledge and practices and systems as I can to help you understand just what I know you can do. Execute. We got this. Encouragers, on today's podcast, I have got a guest that will be certainly memorable. I'm already going to stake that claim because she's very memorable to me, and I just got done reading her book, and even before I bought her book, when I met her, I thought, this would be a fantastic podcast guest because I feel like I know you listeners, and I know how much we love just practical, applicable things we can put into our lives that don't require a ton of time outside of what we're already trying to manage with our roles, but we know are still yet important. And Nicole definitely delivers that. Her name is Nicole Phillips, and she's written 3 books. She's a national speaker, an author, a podcast host, a columnist, a Hallmark Home and Family guest, so we'll definitely ask what that's about. She won the Empowering Women Award. She's a cancer survivor, and she's a wife and mom. And I think we should note, side note, her husband is a college basketball coach. So that's kind of cool with lovely travels in the middle of all this. So she definitely qualifies for all the wonderful books that she has read. And the important thing is like, they're such an easy read, especially with your children, and can definitely change things. So without further ado, please welcome Nicole Phillips.
Hey, Rebecca. So great to talk with you. You missed the one claim to fame that I love the most, which is that I won a car on The Price is Right.
Really?
I did.
Oh my gosh, that's got to be on your new poster because that's amazing.
I know. I got to put that in the bio, don't I? Next time you go to LA and you want to win a car on The Price is Right, I have some practical, applicable tips for you to be able to do so. So just keep that in your pocket.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yes. Well, Nicole and I got to meet each other back in October, and we're here in South Dakota, so we were following all the CDC rules, but there was this amazing women's event that I truly believe that they were going to have come COVID or not, and they did. They followed all of the rules, you guys, but it was so important for us to get together, towards the end of what we had went through. And if I don't say so myself, they got the right speakers in there to just really instill some kind of passion back in the women, and it was really awesome. So I walked in the doors and I got to meet Nicole Phillips at her awesome organized table, and I listened to her speak and then bought her book. And the book, now she has 3 books. So the book we're going to talk about today is called The Negativity Remedy. Tell us a little bit about your journey to this book, and I know your other books will be involved in your conversation as well.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to, especially when you read the bio of someone, you're reading the highlights of the best things of their life, right? Their accomplishments or whatever. It's like a success story. But I think it's important to back up a little bit and say 10 years ago, I was on the edge of what anyone would call an alcoholic. So I was a drinker and a smoker and an overeater and really angry at my husband all the time, for those big things he did that bugged me all the time, like leaving his socks next to the laundry bin or like filling up the ice cube tray wrong or what,
Yes.
Yeah. He's a great, great man. But those little things that annoyed me got to the point where I was just like, I was literally taking everything he did as a personal offense. So that's where I was 10 years ago. And I just felt like life was passionless and pointless. And it was really very sad because I had everything I could have ever wanted, 3 healthy kids, nice home, great husband. And I just thought, is this all there is? So that was me pre-kindness journey. And then I met a young mom and ended up giving her some money. And that just, I gave her enough money to like fill up her gas tank a few times and, maybe take her kid out to McDonald's. And I got back into my minivan with like a high, unlike anything I had ever experienced from any of my bad decisions. And I just felt like, wow, if everyone knew what this felt like, everyone would want to try it and kindness would be contagious. And, like God and the universe and everything working the way that it does, I had gotten a call from the publisher. We were living in Fargo, North Dakota, and the publisher of the paper in Fargo called me and said, hey, I know you used to be a television anchor. I'm wondering if you would be willing to write in our new section of the newspaper. We're looking for female writers. Would you be willing to write about politics? And I said no. And he said, how about cooking? And I said, I've made lasagna twice, and both times forgot to put in the lasagna noodles. Maybe I was drinking, maybe I wasn't. Let's not be judgy about it, right?
Right.
And so he kind of threw his hands in the air and he said, when you figure out what you want to write about, you call me. And I had this interaction and I just was on fire. I wanted to know if other people had ever had that feeling before of doing something, like giving of themselves and stepping out of their comfort zone and just this great helper's high. Like, does anyone else have this? Is this just me? And so I wrote down the initial story and I sent it into the publisher of the paper. And I said, this is what I want to write about. I want to write about kindness. I want people to send in their stories of things they've done and how it made them feel. And also times when kindness showed up for them just when they needed it. And the publisher said, all right. And they gave me a weekly column. We called it Kindness is Contagious. And that was 10 years ago. And it still runs every week in newspapers in North Dakota and Minnesota. But the cool thing, Rebecca, is that within 1 year of beginning that and being really intentional every week about kindness and noticing the ways, not only that I was trying to be kind, but the ways in which people were kind to me that I never even noticed before. Within 1 year of that, I had totally quit drinking. I had quit smoking. I lost 30 pounds. I fell in love with my husband. And like the whole atmosphere of our home changed because my perspective changed. And I got my eyes off of myself and put them on to other people. And it was remarkable. And so through that, I wrote, the first 2 books are compilations. They each have 100 stories of kindness in them from the newspaper column. But then I had a girlfriend who said, hey, you need to write a how-to book for the rest of us, which I laughed at because I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, I've been friends with you for a long time, and I have seen your reactions to certain situations change. And she said, I think you need to write a book about that and how to shift your perspective in difficult situations. And so I did. And that's called The Negativity Remedy, unlocking more joy, less stress, and better relationships through kindness.
Oh, so it's so good. All of the lead up. I appreciate you also telling us not just the highlights. I was in a bad spot, and you have to read the book, everybody, because the scene in the Fargo Mall is so stinking relatable. Up to piling all the clothes on your kids that takes 20 minutes to get in the car to drive 5 minutes, to unloading everything, to spilling the Cheerios in the germ pool air, player. It's just so relatable. And then you watch yourself, we as the reader get to watch yourself transform from this, as you describe it, just bitter, ew, I'm in the Midwest. You probably didn't know how to say this, but I don't appreciate the things that I have. And this is just my life. This is just going to be it. And then transforming to this amazing situation where giving gave you this high, where you've experienced other kinds of highs, but then obviously figured the lows from them. And this one, I assume, did not have the negative effects that chemical highs have. Yes. People forget that so often, but it's true. There are no side effects. There you go. There are no negative side effects to kindness. Sure, sometimes I end up giving money away that, we could have spent on something else, but I'll tell you what, we've never missed it. We've never, even in the early days of this, it was my husband would say, hey, maybe you should put a giving budget together instead of just randomly giving people money. Sure.
Yeah, I need to do that. And it's been 10 years and I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to someday. In the meantime, I'm just going to enjoy, allowing the spirit to prompt me when I feel like it's time to, share my time or my talent or my treasure with somebody else.
Mm. Can you give us, Nicole, some of the examples from your own personal life, when you, obviously you do this all the time and it drastically changed your perspective on situations. As your girlfriend called out and you're like, wait, I knew you when, and now I know you that now. So what happened in here? What were some of the significant ones? And I'm telling you, give us examples of the small tasks, if you will, the small things that you did that started just gradually transforming you.
Well, there's one that a friend of mine calls out all the time, and she calls it the chicken nugget story. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like really, this is not a big deal. But to her, it was. So maybe it'll resonate with some of your listeners. But I was at the pool, and in 2015, I had breast cancer. And so I had the mastectomy in July of 2015. Well, in August of 2015, I was sitting at the pool with a friend of mine, and our kids were playing there, and I decided to order lunch for them at the pool. And I ordered them chicken tenders and fries because that's what kids eat, right?
Yeah.
Well, the chicken tenders and fries came, and they were like burnt to a crisp, like not edible. And the thing is, like, we're sitting in the sunshine at the pool. It's a beautiful day. So everyone in the entire world is at this pool. And there is one lady who is trying to give everybody their drinks and take orders. And then she runs to the kitchen and grabs the food. And then, she just had a lot on her plate and she looked frazzled. So when the chicken nuggets came, my friend was like, "You're going to send those back, right?" She's like, those aren't edible. And I looked over at the lady who was working so hard, and I said, "No, I'm not going to send them back." And she said, "Why not? You paid for those. Like, you should get your money's worth." And I said, "Because of this." I said, "Because that lady is working her tail off right now, and I'm sitting by the pool watching my kids have fun. So I'm not going to send those chicken tenders back. I will feed my kids when I get home. And today I'm just going to try and give grace." And, it felt really good to know that I don't have to be offended by everything. I don't have to have everything be just right. It's a mindset. But when you're willing to just give grace, gosh, it feels so good to us.
Yeah. And you watch it roll over people, like you said, your friend remembered this because she probably thought, okay, my reaction would have been like, send those babies back and get me a new one. And so just that small action of you going, yeah, you know what, we're just going to be with it this time. It's okay. Taught her something in that moment as well. And it's a trickle effect.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing is my girlfriend, super kind person, like she, it's not like she would stomp over and throw the chicken nuggets at the lady and be like, "Fix this,"
True.
It's not that sort of a thing.
No.
But even nicely asking to have them fixed in that moment just didn't feel right to me. I just was sitting in such a place of gratitude that I could watch my kids play in the pool that I didn't care about the rest of it. And that situation didn't stick with me. I didn't even think twice about it. And she brings it up, again and again as a shift in perspective. So, but yeah, those sorts of things feel good. And then you want to duplicate them. You want to replicate them. You want to keep them going. And so you just begin to soften. And, I felt for so long like I had to be strong and in control and everybody should do it my way because my way is the right way and the safe way and the clean way.
Oh, yes. Relatable. Everybody just raised their hand on all three of those.
Yeah. Do you remember getting your kids out of the tub, Rebecca, when they were little? Okay, so you get your kids out of the tub, and this used to drive me absolutely insane. I get my kids out of the tub when they were little, and I would immediately wrap them in a towel and get them all dried off. And they get their little feeties dried off, and then I'd send them scurrying off to their room and, get their jammies on. Well, my husband would take my kids out of the bathtub, and he would just set them on the ground, and he would let them take off, buck naked and wet.
Yes.
Well, the problem with that bothered me so much is that's the wrong way to do it because it's not the safe way to do it. If you allow the children to just run wet down the hallway, A, they're going to slip and fall and, crack their head open. Now we're going to have to go to the emergency room. And B, you just got the floor all wet. So now I'm the one who's going to have to clean it up. Mm-hmm. So I always looked at things from this perspective of like, there's a better way to do this. Everyone needs to do it my way because I've thought this through. And instead, when I've got to the place where I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's okay to just let go. it really freed me.
And what do you think practically that was, Nicole? Was it, okay, so you have the moment in the Fargo Mall and you're like, whoa, that was really awesome. And when you continue to do these acts of kindness, is that where you were able to always step back from situations, even if physical, if just in your mind go, wait, hold on, the waitress is trying. Or, wait, my husband is trying. Like, how did you practically begin to just stay in this new mindset?
What a great question. So the first thing I needed to do was get control of my thoughts. I had read a book, and it was by a woman named Joyce Meyer, and I think it was called like Power Thoughts or something like that. I don't even remember. But she talked about taking your thoughts captive and rejecting those thoughts that aren't serving you. And so, really the first thing is just to think about what you're thinking about. And I would encourage everyone listening, just think about what you're thinking about. And in fact, make it a habit to think about what you're thinking about. So maybe even, put it in your phone to show up as an alert, every Thursday at 3, think about what you're thinking about. And then you're going to find that your thoughts are in the world of hurry, in the world of worry, or in the world of jury, like you are the judge and jury over yourself and everybody around you. And so when our thoughts are so constantly like moving so quickly or so stuck in one spot, it doesn't allow our brain the capacity to say, oh, maybe there's another way to look at this, or maybe there's another way to do this, or relax. So think about what you're thinking about. If it falls into the hurry, worry, or jury, and you know that thought's not serving you, reject it and replace it. And so I would literally say to myself, Rebecca, I reject that thought. And then I would say, I reject that thought, but that's not enough to move my brain away from whatever I'm being maybe judgmental about. So I would say, I reject that thought. And then for me, I had 9 words I kept on a piece of paper in my pocket that I was trying to memorize. And they were love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So I just, I wrote them down on a piece of paper and kept them in my pocket. And I would say, I reject that thought. And then I would get through like 2 or 3, love, joy, peace, patience. And then I'd forget. So I'd pull out my piece of paper and I would go through the list and try and memorize them again. And when I finished that one, I found something else that I wanted to memorize. So I kept that one in my pocket. And basically, our brains are so awesome at learning. They are so good. Our brain every day is creating new pathways. And so Dr. Brad Bushman at Ohio State University did like 10 years of research on anger pathways in the brain. And what he found out is that how you react to things today determines how your brain will react to them tomorrow. So if you get angry quickly at things today, your brain will get even better at getting angry faster tomorrow because it thinks that's what you're trying to do. So when you can take the pause, when you can reject and replace, and instead of just spouting something off or getting hot about something, your brain is learning like, oh, we're going to slow down. We're going to do this a different way. We're not going to get angry. Isn't that fascinating?
That's super powerful and insightful. Yes.
I just love that.
Better and better at being crabby.
Right? You can get better and better at being crabby, or you'll find like once you start rejecting and replacing your thoughts, your whole demeanor just kind of calms. And so I don't always get it right. Trust me.
Right.
But
thank you.
I'm a heck of a lot better than I was 10 years ago.
Encouragers, if you have loved listening to Nicole and everything she has to say about these simple acts of kindness and how it drastically changed her perspective, also within her family and her marriage, I created the Mother's Love Ledger, which is a simple way that you can affect your family for the years to come. It's a mother's journal, but I call it the ledger because it's just a simple way of recording your thoughts to your children, either weekly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly. But I also leave you a page within the ledger that's a prompt. It has prompts within it. So you can record your milestones, record Bible verses that really make sense for this child at that time, record their funny moments, record the things that they like to do. But you don't have to stare at a blank page. It already has prompts that you can use to start leaving that legacy for your child when they leave home. So I highly encourage you to grab the Mother's Love Ledger. It's available at theencouragerpodcast.com.
So you also mentioned that you saw it those weren't your words, but you saw your home atmosphere change.
Mm-hmm.
Give us some of those examples. Like what happened in your marriage and your children?
So we used to call it Mount St. Mommy erupting.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, right. My husband could just see me ready to blow my top, and he'd say to the kids, "Careful, Mount St. Mommy's about to erupt," and like telling them like, "Calm yourselves." and I think he did it to try and get me to like relax and laugh, but really he was right. Like I was close to like erupting with my words. And so what happened really was that it was like stages. Like first, my brain kind of changed the way I looked at things. And then my body changed because I didn't want to self-medicate anymore. I didn't need to do that with food or alcohol or cigarettes or any of it. And then from there, it was like all of a sudden I stopped being a nag to my husband. And I really just felt great gratitude for him and what he did for our family. So even if he threw the socks and they landed next to the laundry hamper, I realized like that wasn't a personal attack on me. He wasn't doing that so that I would have extra work to do, And so that became calm. And so just even my kids were little, but for them to be able to have a mama who woke up in the morning and wasn't hungover, that was a big deal. A mom who sleeps at night and can get up and just, have a clear head for her kids is a gift.
Was the kindness, did that do enough of the healing with the alcoholism, or did you walk yourself through AA or something more, I don't want to say structured, because obviously you were very intentional that this was going to change things, and it obviously did. I'm just curious for our listeners, did you also walk through that?
It's interesting because I didn't. I didn't intend to quit drinking. I had a moment that I hit rock bottom and basically realized like, wow, if I want to live an intentionally kind life, I cannot open the door anymore for alcohol because it makes me mean. And so I had a fight with my husband. And the next morning I woke up and I was like, oh my gosh, I tried cutting back on drinking 1,000 different times, but at this point I was like, I have to stop. And to me, it was, the grace of God stepping in and saying, I've been waiting for you, I've been waiting for you to make this decision. Fine, I will help you. But yeah, I have friends who have gone through AA. I think that any sort of help that people can get is just really important. And I don't know why on this particular time I was able to say, I've had enough. I surrender. I'm done. When all the other times I had said, I should quit or I should cut back or drink a glass of water in between every drink. I tried everything. But it wasn't until I hit that spot that I was like, I'm done.
Oh, there's so many things you guys will understand when you read the book, and we'll provide those links and everything in our show notes here. But one of the hidden treasures that I didn't anticipate, Nicole, is I listened to you speak, which is amazing as well, everybody. If you need to book a speaker, she's your gal. They also do virtual. Was it the last, I don't know if it's the last paragraph or last chapter, and okay, listeners, forgive me, but I always tell you what's going on in my background. My husband is destroying our basement. Does everyone else hear the sledgehammer going?
I told him. No.
But you know what? I'm going to show him kindness, and I'm just going to be appreciative that he's doing some work while I'm recording this podcast.
For sure. Yes.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Nicole.
I was going to say my guard dog will start barking here soon, so then we'll have a jackhammer and a dog in the midst of this recording. It's life, people. It's beautiful, authentic life. Yep.
There you go. I love it. The last part is 365 ways, or what would I say? 365 acts of kindness. And Nicole, I am happy to report to you that my girls, I have one boy and 3 girls. The girls and I are starting the 365 acts of kindness. Now, we don't do one a day, but we frequently look at the list, and in particular, we look at it on Wednesdays, because that used to be when we make a trip to see my grandma's, but with COVID, of course, they're locked up like prisoners, which could be a whole podcast on our senior citizens. But anyways, it has been so refreshing And my daughter is going to bring it to our 4-H club to ask if the club could take this project on for the year, because even though we are living life differently, how could we still show people kindness? So I'll report back, everybody, in our Facebook community how it is going. But I think this would be a great resource for anybody out there who leads a youth group, who leads a 4-H club, who's a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how could your individual classrooms use this such practical 365 different acts? And just when you think you've thought of everything, like paying for coffee for the person behind you, that's so amazing, for one. But there's so many cool ideas on there. So thank you so much for being brave to write the book and take your friend's advice, and just giving it so much practicality. Literally, to me, it read like a workbook. Like, here's what happened, and here's what has changed, and here's what you can do with it. And I just could not recommend it enough.
Oh, thank you so much. I also just wrote a workbook. So that's called Workplace Positivity. And so that comes out, that is out. Yeah. So.
Oh, awesome. Where do we get that at?
Yeah. Amazon.
Nice.
It's meant to be, like a resource for when I speak. So, companies can get that, but people could certainly read it and go through it on their own, and it would make sense.
Okay. Oh, and if we picked a year that we need that sort of research, what's the title of it again? Workplace
Positivity. And it's by me, Nicole Phillips, and I have a co-author, Dr. Neil Nybo, who helped with it. So I'm really excited about it. Neil and I are both speakers, so we thought, it'd be nice to have a resource that we could actually do workshops with, and for people to do on their own as well. It's kind of our combination of our best practices together. So it's neat.
Oh, awesome. Well, I love that somehow we stumbled upon that awesome resource in this chat as well. And Nicole, would you say also, like, as you walked along this journey, that the people that you either attracted, did you attract new people into your life with this new perspective, or did the people already around you start to change as well?
Okay, both. And then a third thing happened. So our good behavior, if I can put it that way, will repel the people who aren't on the same wavelength as you. For instance, if you have a group of people that you hang out with that are really negative and gossipy, you not being that way will sometimes make them not want to be friends with you. Now, that also went along with the drinking. There were certain people who didn't want to hang out with me anymore because I didn't drink with them. So anybody who has been through that will understand what that looks like, but it looks the same also with kindness. Like, I never had to say, and I never would say to somebody, like, you shouldn't say that. You don't need to say that. You don't need to be the judge and jury of other people and correct them, because your good behavior sort of illuminates their bad behavior. And so certain people just, it's like, I don't want to be around her. She's, she doesn't swear, or she doesn't, like, whatever. I don't care if other people do, but, I try not to, or whatever. So, so there's that aspect. Then there's the aspect that, there are people who also love kindness, and they love to encourage. Like you're an encourager, right? So we hit it off because we're like, hey, we could just see in each other this great light that it was just trying to add goodness into the world. And so I've made a ton of new friends who are all in this kind of grassroots movement, whether it's just a Facebook post now and again, or really like they do this for a living. It's pretty cool. So that has also happened. And then what was the other one? You said
those were my two. Is yes, and then you said you had a third group.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking that the first group was that people kind of move away from me, and then we've got people who move toward me. And then, so this is really fun. But my best friend Andrea, the one who asked me to write the how-to book, who's seen it all. She has said that being friends with me has made her kinder, because she and I talk, or she'll see something on social media, or she'll, whatever, like she's being surrounded now by these stories of kindness. And she's like, so I want to try it. I want to know, like, what do you got going? And so that's really fun, because I always thought she was really kind, but she's like, no, like I am intentionally more kind because of you. And like, isn't that the greatest compliment ever? Like,
yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I think too, as you're mentioning it, the acts don't always necessarily involve a gift. It's like you said, it's maybe it's just a perspective, or it's a form of grace that's undeserved, which, by the way, is the definition of grace. It's all kinds of different things. But I loved reading them to the girls and watching their little tiny brains work and get excited about all these different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some really tangible ones. Those 365 are very tangible in the back of the book. But I will always tell people, when somebody lets the door close in your face when you're walking into a store, you saying to yourself, wow, I wonder what's going on in her life. I bet she got in a fight with her husband and she just can't concentrate today on anything that's happening around her. Like, that is an act of kindness that you have just extended, because instead of carrying your negative energy into that store and glaring at the woman, you are remaining in your place of peace and calm. And that just makes the world a brighter place.
It does. It does. I think sometimes, I'm not sure how this ties in, but it makes me think, when you've had multiple different things happen in your life and you've witnessed, like for us, our older brother was addicted to drugs and in and out of prison. So we had lots of different situations where we had really bad days at school, and and always wondering, like, if the people around, like, I don't know why this image is coming to me, but I'd be playing my tenor saxophone in the band and like not wanting to be there, because I knew at 11:02 is when he would be in court, Mom and Dad. So picturing this and thinking as a teenager, like, nobody else here has any of these problems. And people still showed me kindness, and it was a brand new school and stuff. And I remember somebody ask me what size uniform for the marching. And the last thing I wanted to do is pick out uniforms and polyester and what. Anyways, she goes, you know what, I'll just pick it for you. You look distracted. And that was like an act of kindness, reflecting on this book too, and going, man, was I shown a lot of kindness for when I was terrible-minded and egotistical as a teenager as well. And all these people that naturally have kindness. But I like that your book also teaches that even if you're not inclined to that, maybe you grew up in a really negative environment where everybody was offended and everybody overreacted, that it can still be taught, and you can start exercising it immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's so interesting, Rebecca, to hear your story, because as a human, like, I don't know if every human, or it's just me, forgets, but, we forget that everyone has a story. Everyone has a background. Everybody's got something in their lives that brings them pain. And I really feel like it's those things, especially having walked through those things, that give us our purpose and our power for our own unique brand of kindness. So, for instance, my mom married a prison inmate when I was in 5th grade. And so I would go to the prison and I would visit her boyfriend and then husband there with her. And fast forward to me being, 40 years old, and there's a little boy in our community, and his mom is in prison, and he wanted to go see her, but the only person who could get clearance to go, because of other, addictions and things happening with the people with him, I was the only one who could take him to see his mom in the prison. And I thought, how amazing that this has come full circle, and that my ability to be strong for him and to help him and to walk him through this came from something that brought me pain earlier in life. And we just all can use those stories to show compassion and to help other people when they need someone to understand.
Yes, it's so true. God never wastes a tear. Never.
Nope, never.
Doesn't mean it makes it any better going through it, and hopefully sometimes in this lifetime you're revealed, like in your case, where you go, okay, all right, yeah. Amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much for just laying it out there for us, making it so applicable and tangible, and also, like, I don't even know what the word would be, but overarching, like, wow, this is attainable. If I can just do this, like, one act at a time, what it can do for our legacy that we pass on to our children and to our loved ones around us. I talk frequently that legacy doesn't have to be this huge overwhelming idea of my legacy and my company and my worth. I'm like, no, I'm not even talking dollar signs. I'm just talking like tangibly, what will they be able to say about you when you are gone? That is a legacy, and it starts with just simple things like this. And you've provided us with an incredible book that'll help us do just that. And I think it couldn't be more perfect timing than after we come out of a year like 2020 when some people, a lot of us have been naughty and been mean and been cooped up. And so this is the year to like look at things in a different way and to do things with more grace and more kindness. And I just couldn't thank you more for writing the book and for our happenstance meeting when we both got to speak together.
I'm so grateful for that day. And I'll tell you, Rebecca, I have one of my team members who has said to me, legacy isn't something you leave for someone, it's something you leave in someone. And so I just encourage all of your listeners, think about what you're thinking about, because what you're thinking about will come out of your mouth. And so we want to leave goodness in people and let that be our legacy.
I love it. Thank you so much, Nicole. We will make sure to leave notes in our show notes here, everybody, so you can get a hold of Nicole's awesome book and her resource also for positivity in the workplace. And stay tuned, because I'm sure she's got other things up her sleeve, and we will have her on again to tell us what the next thing is we can do to make ourselves better humans. Until next time, encouragers, we got this.
I'm always encouraged and humble when you guys go ahead and do leave me a rating and review. They're extremely important in the podcast world, and this one just really had me beaming. It's from Kay Paulton. This podcast is gold for the mompreneur. I have listened to hours upon hours of it in the past week. Rebecca is encouraging, inspiring, and full of wisdom. I'm so thankful that our paths crossed in the Braveheart Summit, and I'm looking forward to one day taking her mentorship class. Thanks for being diligent in all that you do, Rebecca. Well, you are welcome, Kay Paulton, and thank you for leading the rating and review. I hope that you continue to feel encouraged and that you do, in fact, become a member in our master course. I know how you can start executing on all the things that God has equipped you to do. You can pick up my book at theencouragerpodcast.com and check out the store complete with book, journal, and the master course. Also, make sure to check out the resources tab where you'll get a hold of all the PDFs from the podcast. Thank you for tuning in, encouragers. Remember to subscribe so it's automatically on your phone. And please rate and review me. We got this, encouragers.